I'd like to introduce Steve Salisbury. He's the Government Affairs Manager for the Off-Highway Issues for the AMA, the American Motorcycle Association. If you didn't know it, the AMA's mission is to promote the motorcycle lifestyle and protect the future of motorcycling. Even though he spends a lot of time on his motorcycle, he's a lifelong trail enthusiast, and he became a nationally recognized master tread trainer responsible for Tread Lightly. He served on the Maine Governor's ATV Task Force and the Maine Project Selection Committee for the Federal Recreation Trails Program. So it was no surprise when I asked him about his most memorable or most recent recreation experience. They talked about a trail situation. Stewardship of trails is very important, and multi-use of trails is very important to Steve. So he told me the story about being on Maine's multi-use Down East Sunrise Trail. I think our Mainers just looked up. And he was on, I guess, were you hiking or biking or on your motorcycle? On his motorcycle. And he passed a woman pushing a big wheel stroller. So think about multi-use that way. And she looked at him very perplexed after he slowed down. He stopped, he took off his helmet, and he stood there and enjoyed her telling him about how appreciative she was of the fact that he slowed down and shared the trail, and how she was surprised to see him on a motorcycle and such a respected user of trails. To him, that was a reflection of the way that multi-use trails should operate and how motorcycles can be viable on the trail systems. So, Steve is going to talk to us about urban off-highway vehicle parks. Steve?
Well, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it, and I do absolutely enjoy every minute of what I do. When I first introduce myself to folks and tell them that I have a degree in forestry and also am a lifelong dirt biker, they usually look at me like I'm schizophrenic, that how can that possibly be? But I honestly feel as though I've won the lottery to have the opportunity to talk to you folks about the topics that are near and dear to me. And I'm very I'm very honored to be on this esteemed panel. These gentlemen have a lot to share, and I'm very pleased that we can talk about a common topic. Reaching the urban population is certainly very difficult, as we've just heard, and there are challenges all around. Historically, in the urban setting, stick and ball sports have given people an opportunity to excel outdoors in the urban environment. More recently, you can think of a skateboard park that has a concept that's actually been very successful in a lot of urban settings and has a great many parallels to what we are going to talk about here with urban OHV. Well, I appreciate the fact that you just had a chance to hear the AMA mission statement again, because it's extremely relevant to the topic at hand. And it is, as you heard, it is to promote the motorcycle lifestyle and protect the future of motorcycling. Through member surveys, AMA has identified access to public lands as a top 3 issue perennially. There's no question that whether it's through federal wilderness designations, monument designations, shortened budgets, or NIMBY opposition, public off-highway vehicle opportunities have been limited through the years. To some people, the idea of establishing a new OHV area on public land is a practical impossibility. Therefore, job security for me, it keeps me quite busy. Nowhere is that shortage of public riding opportunities more acute than in our inner cities. Working with broad coalitions in both Philadelphia and Baltimore, the AMA has done its best to promote the idea of urban OHV parks and overcoming a great many obstacles to get there. Crowd question, if I might. We all, in our own, whatever our fields might be, we all get caught up in acronym soups. Those of you who work for the federal government or have been in the military are probably well aware of what I'm talking about. And some of you will recognize the term ATV as an all-terrain vehicle, OHM, off-highway motorcycle, ROV, recreational off-highway vehicle. Some would call it a side-by-side, sort of a golf cart on steroids. But all of those vehicles jointly are called OHVs, off-highway vehicles. And I'm curious, by a show of hands, how many people here own an OHV in their household? Not surprising. I appreciate those who do. Another question, how many people here have seen in the popular press the issues that are going on with urban off-highway, or I should say urban OHV use, whether it's motorcycles or ATVs. See if we can get, no? There we go. I might have been, could easily have turned that around and say how many people have not seen the headlines about urban OHV problems. They're rampant. Quite honestly, two of the more recent that have gotten our attention were in the city of New York, where the police department did a public Facebook event where they crushed OHVs, motorcycles, dirt bikes, and some street bikes, and considering that their solution to the urban OHV problem. More recently, also here in Washington, D.C., there was a group of urban OHV riders who detained an ambulance with its siren on, trying to get a sick patient to the hospital. Very, very unpleasant press that's been part of the issue. The two movie posters that I put up here, the first, The 12 O'Clock Boys, comes out of Baltimore. It's about 3 years old, and the 12 o'clock, if you think of a motorcycle as that guy's doing in a wheelie, there's your 12 o'clock. He's standing straight up. The second one is actually going to premiere tomorrow night in Philadelphia, and I'm going to have to pass on the tickets. I'd like to be part of it, but it's called The Last Ride, recently renamed from Ride to the Death. They didn't think that would sell very well. But quite honestly, both of these have very, very little to do with motorcycling. They're about lifestyle. They're about sociology. They're about belonging to a group. They're about people who have very little available to them, and they found this outlet, happen to use a motorcycle for the vehicle, but in fact what they've got is a sense of belonging. I don't know if you can see it well, but on The Last Ride, if you look at the back of the blue motorcycle, there's a 3-digit number. Has almost no relevance in any intercity setting. What it does have relevance to do with is the racing community. There's a very good chance that motorcycle was stolen from a motocross racer. And that's another issue, unfortunately, that we're having to deal with relative to OHV. Glad to say that there are some success stories. Many of them are rural, as you would imagine. There's thousands of acres in some OHV parks around the country. These are on the smaller scale. These are more of the suburban settings. And they're usually 10 or 12, maybe 20 acres. And they often feature multiple activities on the site. But what we've got here is a couple of, obviously, engineering drawings and aerial photos, and you can get the sense for the fact that they're trying to pack a lot into a small space. And in the aerial photos, especially the one at the bottom, you can see that often a suitable location would be a former gravel pit or sand facility. Let's see. Here we go. One of the most successful programs, one of the words I've heard a lot here today and think a lot of is mentoring. One of the most successful programs in the country, and one that we partnered with in both Baltimore and Philadelphia, is called the National Youth Program Using Mini Bikes, or NYPM, back to the acronym SUP. It was started in 1969 by American Honda, wholly funded by American Honda, as it is to this day. Honda started the program by donating 10,000 mini bikes into a mentoring program that was designed specifically to reach at-risk youth, to provide them the carrot of the opportunity to ride the bike if you show up on time, if you do your homework, if your parents give you the right reports, etc. And you can actually work on the bike. For those folks who have an affinity for spinning wrenches, they could actually, one of the rewards they would get would be the opportunity to work on the motorcycles. At the height of the program's success in the past 50 years, they had 370 programs running concurrently nationwide. And we're very honored to be working directly with them. Unfortunately, we're still anticipating the establishment of the first true urban OHV park. Think of the urban setting. Think of what vacant lands you might have available and what's out there. And what you'll hear from me here in a moment in a little more detail is one of the hurdles that we continue to run into in getting that first park established is consistent local political pressure in the right direction. Other partners that we had in both Baltimore and Philadelphia have included the City Council and Park and Rec departments, logically, local clergy and community organizations, law enforcement officials, local, statewide, and national power sports associations, our partners in what we do, local businesses, including power sport dealers, power sports original equipment manufacturers, we would call them the OEMs, they'd be the Hondas and the Yamahas, the Suzukis of the world, documentary filmmakers, engineering and design firms, philanthropists, event promoters, and others. We tried specifically to develop as broad a coalition as possible. The first issue that's raised by skeptics in where can you build a park has always been, where's your site? Where are you going to put this thing? I was talking a moment ago about NIMBY opposition, not in my backyard. Who wants an urban OHV park next to them? I meant to mention, in fact, I missed it a second ago, one of the locations that we found when we were working in Baltimore that had been an active motocross track in the 1970s and ran what they called the Mayor's Cup was in fact a capped landfill. You have to get creative if you're going to find spots in an urban setting. Philadelphia's land bank of city-owned properties has been a real godsend for us as we've been looking around Philadelphia. Brownfield sites, like two we're considering in Philadelphia, come to mind. One is a former heavy equipment manufacturing facility, and unfortunately, as you might imagine, it's got some serious remediation issues we have to deal with. The other was suggested by a local OHV park advocate, or as we like to term, as you've all heard probably in your own campaigns, the term champion. You find somebody who can't sleep at night because they're so passionate about the project. He runs his father's motorcycle shop in the most incredibly cramped spot in downtown Philadelphia. He has developed on his own with the local high schools a mentoring program to teach youth how to do the mechanical work on motorcycles and scooters, et cetera, and been extremely successful. And God bless him, he's one of our champions in Philadelphia. And I'm going to guess by now you might have figured out that his name is Gino Cycle Center. Well, Gino is passionate about this site. And you're going to see this is our drone technology with a backyard operator, but I think you'll get a sense for it. This is 60 acres. It's on the Delaware River. It's a beautiful site for what we have in mind. But what we found out is there's a very frustrated developer who's been trying to sell it and having problems. It sits next to, get this for multiple use, a nursing home, a prison, and a park, all abut this property. One of the most important things that this property has available to it is that it includes both dirt and hard surfaces. A lot of you have raised your hands about being familiar with the problems with urban OHV use. Where are those OHVs being used? Asphalt and concrete. So this park, while we're talking about dirt bikes, and I'm a dirt bike guy, this park has to have hard surfaces, and God bless them, there they are. So if we're going to sell the concept to the urban community, it has to be relevant to them. And everyone has told us it has to have a place for them to approximate a city street where they're used to operating. The other thing was this developer, as you would imagine, this is waterfront property, and the view across the river is pretty nice. It's not an industrial view. He's asking $12 million for it. You know what that did to our effort, right? We decided we couldn't do it. But what it also did, he's frustrated, he hasn't been able to sell it. It's available right now. The concept, not my idea, the concept came up of a pop-up park. You know what happens at Halloween? Those old box stores all become places to sell costumes and then they go away. That's the concept that's being suggested for this site, that it might in fact be a short-term operation that would address an immediate need, especially as the summer heat comes on and the crowd gets a little restless. We need something now. We might be able to work out something with this developer for that idea. The other issue is, how are you going to get the dirt bikes to the legal site? These guys don't have trailers and trucks. Their thrill is to ride down the street. Well, the other concept, if this is a pop-up park, it might be one of several small parks that are operating around the city, so the distance from the neighborhood to the park is not as serious a problem as it would be otherwise. Let's see if there we go. Well, in Philadelphia, we took our coalition to a 1,600-acre OHV park in coal country, county-owned, county-operated, city and an authority and advisory board that ran it. After we took city councilors, we took the Park and Recs folks, many of whom had never seen anything in the way of an OHV park, had no idea what it was, and were fascinated. After that, we decided to go public. So what we did, the AMA and NIPM took part in an event called Clutch Control, annual event in Philadelphia, strictly geared toward the stunter lifestyle. And unfortunately, the weather was awful, the crowd was kind of small, but I'll tell you what, the enthusiasm on all sides, every diverse member of that audience that was there appreciated the other and had a sense for what we were trying to do. The kids that were in the NIPM program were in an active program at that time that was ongoing in New York State and came down for the event. And they beamed the whole day. If you could have bottled up that energy, it was enormous. They were so proud to have the opportunity to demonstrate their new skills, brand new skills, in front of a very experienced audience. Well, having had some success in Philadelphia, we moved on to Baltimore, and we did the same thing. We got involved here with 2 city councilmen who had put forward the idea before within city government to see if there was a way that we could find a place, a park, and have the right audience to use it. And we took both of those councilmen first to 2 facilities in the area that were small footprint motocross tracks. Not just to see the track, they were amazed by what they saw, the skills, the talent of the riders, but to talk to the operators of the park, what the issues are that they deal with to actually run a facility like that. We followed that up. We took them to an arena cross race in Baltimore. And you may not be familiar, motocross is outdoors, natural terrain, jumps, hills, turns, all the obstacles. Supercross is motocross in a football stadium. They truck in hundreds of loads of dirt and build a very elaborate, manicured, man-made track. Well, arena cross, we're going to shrink it down a little bit, and we're going to make that man-made track with the imported dirt in a hockey, basketball, or civic arena. And we took these gentlemen to that operation to give them a chance to see what it would look like in their city. And they were amazed. They saw some of their local residents. They were amazed and they were very pleased. But what happened to us awfully, 2 gentlemen, city council, one decided to run for mayor, lost in the primaries. The other hoped to retain a seat as a city councilor, lost in the primaries. Political champions gone. Fortunately, the coalition in Baltimore was nearly as strong as the one in Philadelphia, and there are community organizers, et cetera, who will see that this is ongoing. That 1,600-acre facility that I described in northern Pennsylvania where we went to ride took 16 years to start. We have people in both of these cities telling us they'll have a park open this summer. It may open this summer, but it'll close a month later. So we realize we're in this for the long term. That's really the whole of it. What I'd just like to leave you with, in summary, is the whole concept of an urban OHV park is very polarizing. We have the racing community who doesn't really like the inner city community. We have the inner city community who doesn't like, who says they won't use the park. We have other people saying, why are you bothering with it? It's one of those, if you want a friend, get a dog kind of issues. We've all been there. The mission is important and should be followed. The AMA views it as one that is absolutely in line with our mission statement: promote the motorcycle lifestyle and protect the future of motorcycling. If anybody has any concerns about the concept, keep the concept of skate parks in mind. The 2 criticisms: nobody will use it and they'll all continue their criminal activity or whatever the problem might be, absolutely has not been the case across the skate park movement. Champions are critical. God bless Gino. We got a couple people like him, and we need everybody like that we can find. And the last issue that I'll leave you with, and the one that's caused us a little bit of a slowdown, but we're still moving, is the local consistent political pressure is the key. It's very hard to make sure that your political champions stay on board. That's it. Thank you.